Imagine not liking the video. Do it now. Hello everyone, what's going on? My name's GMT and welcome to the slasher tier list in Survive the Night. Now, before we get started, just want to go ahead and say that this is all going to be opinion based. I'm pretty much going to be ranking these slashers by their abilities, okay, how the abilities actually work and whether or not they can actually go ahead and kill survivors faster than other slashers using their abilities. That's pretty much what we're going to do. So this is all going to be opinion based. Some people might not agree with this tier list, but I'm going to try to be at most factual that I can and try to describe my reasoning to why I'm going to be ranking each slasher in whichever range we're going from S to A to B to C to D. S being the best tier and D being the worst tier. Also, another thing, I've seen a lot of slasher tier lists on YouTube, just randomly looking at them and seeing other people's ideas, and I see so many of them that don't include all of the slashers. So in this tier list, we're going to be including all the slashers. There's a lot of slashers in this game, but a lot of people just include like the main slashers. Like if you go to the store and then you buy all the slashers there, that's what they do. They don't actually do the other slashers because we have, like, for example, we have two different merches. Okay, we have the merch and the lightweight merch, both the same person but with different abilities. They count as two different slashers. The same thing goes with the nightfall. There's the normal nightfall and the disguised nightfall. The same person but two different slashers because they both have a different ability. So we're going to be including all slashers in this tier list. There are 20 different slashers with different abilities in Survive the Night so far, and these are all of them here in the little tier list thing. So let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to go from left to right, so we'll start with the merch. I'm also going to go ahead and describe what their abilities do as well for those people who are new to Survive the Night and they kind of want to know what each slasher does. So the merch slasher, what is the merch slasher? You can get the merch slasher in the merch surplus shop. You got to use tokens to go ahead and get him. He's a pretty decent slasher, and he's pretty much the main lore character inside of Survive the Night. What he does is that he has a revolver with 6 rounds in the chamber, and you can use each revolver shot when you activate the ability because it'll click, and that's when you can use the 6 shots. After all 6 shots are used, then he has to go ahead and recharge his ability again. But each shot does half a hit, and when I say half a hit, that means each slasher, when they use their main attack, when they like smack someone, that is 1 hit, and then you kind of got perks on the survivor side to go ahead and kind of judge how many hits you can actually take from a survivor. So the merch's ability does half of a hit, and he can go ahead and rapid fire this thing as well. So if he, let's say if a survivor is 2 hits, then it would take the merch 4 shots to go ahead and actually kill this person. It's a decent slasher, but it's not a slasher I think would be more beneficial than other slashers. We're gonna go ahead and throw the merch into the B tier. A lot of people like to use the merch because I think he's just a favorite character by the way he looks and stuff like that. But if we're gonna be completely serious here, a lot of people are gonna be 2 hits inside of this game. And if you are using any other slasher, it would be faster just to smack the person 2 times than to actually go ahead and use the merch's ability. It's not going to be a faster way to go ahead and actually kill someone. Next up, we have Giant Spider Dude, Arachne. It could be a girl too. Okay, I'm not judgmental here. Arachne is one of the newest slashers inside of Survive the Night, and what they do basically is they're kind of like the Spider Lady in the game Devour. That's kind of like how they are, if you guys know what that is. Basically, what the ability does is that they will place a web and it kind of blocks off an entrance or an exit or just a path as well, and you got to go ahead and sit there and you got to cut the web 6 times, I think it is, until it fully goes away, and then you can walk through that location again. It's good for trapping stuff, it's good for blocking off exits, but I don't think a lot of people are using this thing, and it's mainly because I think it's the hitbox. The Arachne ability I think can actually be used pretty well, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually throw Arachne in the B tier as well, not an A tier. I don't want to throw it up a little bit more. The ability is nice, but there are better slashers I think we're going to go ahead and throw into the A tier. But the B tier is going to be a perfect suit for Arachne because you don't have to have any skill really to go ahead and actually use this thing. And if you do have skill while using Arachne, it's going to help you out a bunch in blocking off those exits that people take for looping and such. All right, next slasher we have is the Myers, and this dude is freaky. Myers is a perfect slasher for people who want to go ahead and try to figure out where the slasher is exactly, if they're really good at rotations or if they're really good at rotating and stuff like that. So the Myers description is he hides all sources of basic survivor detection, and what this means is that the way to go ahead and actually detect where a slasher is mainly by the lights breaking, or you can actually hear the sound of the slasher a little bit, like the atmosphere, the ambiance, like we said before in the other video, and also the red glow around the slasher as well. When you're using the Myers' ability, it takes all that away. You don't see the red glow around the slasher. You can't really hear him coming. The dude could pretty much just come up to you and you have no idea. He could come out of the pitch black and you could think it's a survivor, but it's not. Okay, it's a slasher coming to gut you like a pig. So literally, it just adds on to that effect of you have no idea this dude's coming at you. It's a perfect slasher. I'm definitely going to throw Myers into the S tier. A god tier slasher for sure. It's really hard to win against a good Myers user, because if they do know what routes to take, and if they do know where survivors are going to go ahead and rotate or even try to loop around areas, if you just use the Myers ability, no idea that they're going to even be coming in that direction of any sort, or even just coming at all towards your location if you are going to be rotating or looping or any sorts of that. It just ruins your plan. Okay, the Myers is definitely a plan ruiner. Next, we have Onro. It is 2022, and I still have no idea how to say that actual name. Is it Onro? I have no idea. So Onryo's ability is that she places a well, and basically if you walk up to that well, it will activate, and then it will let Onryo know that you activated the well, and you will have a hit marker on you, and you will have like a sort of detect on you while you walk around for 1 hour inside of Survive the Night. 1 hour, by the way, is 1 minute. So it's kind of like a trap, okay? You walk into it, it says, hey, you walked into this trap, you played yourself. And now Onro can see your exact location for 1 hour inside of Survive the Night. Onro is a good slasher. I think last time we went ahead and did a slasher tier list, which was a long time ago, we definitely put Onro into the A tier. And I think we're going to be doing that again, because I think it is a very decent slasher. It is one of the main slashers in Survive the Night, but the ability still works. The ability is still really good. And actually, she was kind of 1v1ing the lightweight merch here, because their abilities are sort of similar, but the lightweight merch gave off another like added bonus to Onro's ability as well, but that was recently changed in an update that just happened not too long ago. So let's move on to the commander. The commander's ability is basically Darth Vader. Okay, the dude is Darth Vader, so you can guess what his ability is. Yep, force choke. But it's not only just a force choke as well. What it does is actually lowers your max health by 1 hit when he does this force choke as well. Commander's ability: if you are a survivor and you're walking and the commander happens to appear to you, whatever, uses his ability, what'll happen is you'll be stuck in place. You won't be able to move. It's like you're stunned. You'll be in that force choke like you see in the Star Wars movies.
Or giving you clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
And it lowers your max health by 1 hit. So if you are a 2-hit as a survivor, then you'll be a 1-hit after he uses a force choke. It makes for a quick and rapid kill. Like we said before, a lot of people are going to be a 2-hit depending on the perks that they're using, and the popular perks that are being used right now, your health is probably going to be around a 2-hit. Unless you got people who are going to be using Kevlar. You could have Kevlar and shield, and you could literally be a walking juggernaut. We're going to throw the commander, I think, into the B tier. We threw him into the A tier last time, but commander's ability is like, it's good if you want to go ahead and kill someone really quick. You still got to find the people. It could still take you quite a while. You're still going to be able to kill that person just like any other slasher if you go ahead and actually find them. The commander actually doesn't help you find that specific player, so he'll be a B tier slasher. Next, we have the Ghoul, and this is actually my most favorited slasher in the game right now. This guy is the breaker of looping. Okay, Ghoul S tier. What the Ghoul's ability does is once his ability is activated, he can go through lockers, he can go through doors for a period of time. He doesn't have to open them or anything. He just walks right through them. It's basically like a transparent entrance to him now. He is a ghost after all. This works insanely well with people who use barricades, people who are looping as well, like door loopers. The door looping is huge in this game. My voice just cracked. I'm keeping that in. Door looping doesn't have to just go ahead and include like you finding a specific rotation with doors. That's pretty much what the definition of door looping is in Survive the Night. Door looping can actually include just you using one door as well. That's what a door loop is. It could possibly be called a door shut, but that sounds insanely stupid, so it's going to be called a door loop. This breaks that idea. Ghoul is a very good slasher if you want to go ahead and just follow people without having to worry about being door looped or barricades as well. It works insanely well. Next up, we have the Murderer, the main slasher in Survive the Night, the slasher that everyone gets. I won't lie. This slasher is actually not that bad. If used correctly, The Murderer is a very good slasher. Basically, what he does is once his ability is activated, you enter a rage. What this rage is, it makes you run faster. It's like you're activating a sprint, and that sprint lasts for a duration of time. It's actually pretty long. I think it's like 10 to 15 seconds that you're in that rage mode for, so you do sprint pretty fast. The Murderer, I think, is definitely going to be a B tier slasher as well. We might be filling up the B quite a bit because a lot of slashers are just, they're good. They're just like main-based good slashers. You can use their abilities and still kill faster just as any of these other B tier slashers. All right, next we have the Parasite. This is a slasher that I actually don't see people use quite often in Survive the Night. The only reason I see Parasite slashers now is because of that new Professor Kraken slasher that came out relating to Spider-Man. That's the only reason I see people actually using the Parasite slasher. So the Parasite slasher, when you use his ability, he will go into a little quick speed burst, and then after that's done, it will do a massive area attack. Basically, all his webbings will come out and just slap everyone that's around him. It's very unlikely that you'll actually see people go ahead and rock together and Survive the Night. If you are playing like random Survive the Night matches, I actually see a lot of people who are split up. So the Parasite's ability doesn't really help out too much with that. This is more of an area attack. It does help out with people who are going to be grouping up and actually working together. It's an alright slasher, but I think there are other slashers that work way better than the Parasite if you want to go ahead and even do a sprint boost or do area attacks. Some sort of that. I think Parasite's going to be a C tier. It's not going to help you with actually finding survivors, and when you do find survivors and you use this ability, it's not going to help you kill quicker as if you were to go ahead and use other slashers. So the Parasite, we're going to throw into the C tier. Next, we have the Lady, another main slasher in Survive the Night. When you use this ability, you can knock off doors or barricades or lockers right away, just in one hit. You can also go ahead and use this ability as well to actually hit the survivor, which counts as a hit. So it's like the Commander almost. If you get next to a survivor, you can use her ability and then quick attack. It'll kill them right away. And this also helps break barricades from people using hammers or anything like that, and just breaking off doors in general. So you don't have to go ahead and actually worry about people looping ever again and Survive the Night. If they were to go ahead and rotate around a specific area, just knock the door right off and they'd have to move to a new location, or you'd end up killing them. Definitely going to be an A tier slasher, I think. I think the Myers and the Ghoul are definitely going to be better than the Lady, just if you want to go ahead and actually get rid of people right away who are going to be doing that sort of thing. But the Lady does help remove that scenario just from existing in that single match. But do you have other people using that same area? Probably not. So, I mean, you did break it off to go ahead and just kill the person, and now you probably got to move to another location to get the rest of the people. So I think that's why we're going to be going ahead and throwing the Lady into the A tier. Next, we have the Chainiac. I think last slasher tier list we did, I threw the Chainiac into the S tier, I think it was. I can't exactly remember. It was either S or A tier, but I don't think we're going to be doing that today. The Chainiac's ability, a lot of people like to go ahead and link it to either the Lady or link it to another slasher that goes ahead and can take out doors and barricades right away, because when you use the Chainiac's ability, what it does is that it activates a series of quick attacks. You can actually go ahead and attack way faster than just having any other slasher do his normal attack. You can go ahead and actually take off doors pretty fast using the Chainiac, but that's pretty much the only thing I'd be using the slasher for. Other than that, you'd have to go ahead and actually activate this ability just to kill people quicker, I assume. I think the Chainiac, we're going to be throwing into the C tier. A lot of people like to use the Chainiac because if you are with a group or people using the barricade as well, you can activate his ability, break through the barricade, but then that's pretty much your abilities over with. If you are chasing a group of people and then you happen to stumble upon a barricade or a looper of any sort, or they're all looping a single door, you activate his ability, take off the door or take off the barricade. That ability is pretty much over, and then you're back to just chasing that group or a single survivor again. So the Chainiac, we're gonna throw him into the C tier. Next, we have the lightweight merch, which is kind of like the Onro that we're talking about before. What the lightweight merch does is that he places down a trap, and if you happen to walk onto that trap, it does the Onro's ability. It basically lets the slasher know where you are for that duration of time. It's not a whole hour like Onro's is. It's kind of like the lightweight merch doing another like ping. Like if you were to go ahead and detect everyone, that's kind of what it let him know, basically. But now with the recent update that happened a little while ago with the lightweight merch, if you do happen to stumble upon one of lightweight merch's traps, you can actually go ahead and disable this trap. And they're pretty easy to see as well. It's not just like a normal bear trap that's on the ground that the slasher can't see sometimes, because it kind of blends in pretty well. But if you have the lightweight merch, and you use his ability, what happens is it has this little red electricity bolt that goes around the trap, and anyone can pretty much see it clearly. Okay, it is active, so you can see it clearly if you are just walking next to it or coming up upon it, and then you can disable it as well. The disable time is quite long. It's kind of like unlocking a locked door in Survive the Night. If someone had the keys and you lock the door, that amount of time it takes to unlock that door, that's kind of the amount of time it takes to disable the lightweight merch's trap as well. However, since you can disable a trap, that pretty much just ruins the ability, and since the ability isn't as good as Onro's, because it's kind of just like another detect if someone were to go ahead and stumble upon it, it's just not a very good recon slasher. It's not as good as Onro, of course. The lightweight merch, I think, is definitely going to be a C tier slasher or even a D tier slasher. It's not a slasher that I suggest you use. I think we're actually going to go ahead and throw them into the D tier. I think there's other slashers that you guys can go ahead and use that would be way better than the lightweight merch. Next up, we have the Hunter. Does anyone use the slasher anymore? I don't think so. So what does the Hunter's ability actually do? When you use the Hunter's ability, it's kind of like night vision for the survivor side, but it's for the slasher side. Basically, you can see people more clearly. You can't see them through walls like you could before with the Hunter. That was pretty OP. Okay, everyone loved using the Hunter when you could see people through the walls with his wall hacks and whatever. But now you can't actually go ahead and do that. And let's say if we're on the farm map, for example, if you get on top of a hillside and you actually look out, you can see people from a far ways away. But if you are on that hillside and you use the Hunter's ability, it doesn't actually activate like seeing people that far. You do have to be in a close proximity range for the ability to go ahead and actually give off that thermal effect, so then you can see people. So there is a range to using this ability's effect. And then also what the ability does as well is it boosts your hearing, so the survivor's breathing should be more louder for you to go ahead and hear and actually draw you closer to those locations, so then your thermal can activate. It is another one of those recon slashers, and I think it is way better than the lightweight merch. We're going to be throwing Hunter into the C tier. There are other slashers way better, especially recon based, that are way better than the Hunter slasher. So I think we're going to be throwing the Hunter into the C tier for that specific reason. Next up, we have the Nightmare slasher. Freddy Krueger himself, one of the newest slashers in Survive the Night that came out a little while ago. What his ability does is he will activate his dream realm, and anyone around his proximity, once his ability has been activated, will throw them into the dream realm as well. And you get a short period of time to go ahead and actually kill people inside of that dream realm until you all spawn back into the actual map together. Yep, that's right, together. Not a little ways away. I don't understand why this is the Nightmare's ability as well. Okay, if there is a Survive the Night like dev watching this video, with the Nightmare slasher, what I wish happened was this. Let's say survivors get pulled into the dream realm, and you happen to survive inside of the dream realm, because that is extremely hard to do for some people, especially when it's one person getting pulled into the dream realm. If you survive the dream realm, why does it spawn you all together back in the map right next to each other? What should happen is if you survive the dream realm, that is an achievement. Okay, clap it up. What should happen is it should spawn you away from the slasher. You shouldn't spawn together. I think the only reason that happens is because it is a proximity ability. So if you do pull in like 5 people at once, then yeah, it should spawn everyone close to you because you did just find everyone. It shouldn't spawn everyone farther away, because then you'd have to go ahead and find people again, and it kind of just ruined your ability. But it is quite a long time that you have in the dream realm to go ahead and actually kill everyone, because what the dream realm is it's just a little house, and you got to find everyone in the little house to kill. If they made a way to have it where, let's say you pull in a bunch of people and then you kill them, then yeah, it could spawn them close to you. But if you're just pulling in one person, then it should have that survivor like spawn a certain ways away if they did survive the dream realm, which is really hard to do, like I said before. But the Nightmare's dream realm can be used very well. The Nightmare is definitely going to be either a B or an A tier slasher. I think we're going to throw him into the B tier for now. I think it's just one of those slashers that you can go ahead and use, and you can go ahead and get the job done really quick if you don't use a slasher a lot in Survive the Night. Next up, we have the Nightfall, the slasher that you could get if someone were to kill you with that specific character, but now you can't go ahead and actually get the Nightfall that way anymore. The only way that you can get the Nightfall is when there's an event now inside of Survive the Night. Then you can use your event coins to go ahead and purchase the Nightfall and the disguised Nightfall, but now you can't get them anymore. And there's a reason for that as well, because they're very freaking good slashers. The Nightfall is the only slasher in the game that can use his ability to become immune to traps. So before they had the thing put in place a couple updates ago, when they went ahead and removed like trap spamming, because you can't do that anymore. A lot of people like to use the Merch's Bear Trap with the perk as well, the trap restock, and you could just spam traps all over the place, and then you pretty much could just loop the slasher infinitely, especially if you had a lot of people doing that as well. The change that they made is that when a slasher activates a trap, like if they step onto a trap and they get stunned for a period of time, they can't actually go ahead and get stunned by another trap for another period of time, because that just adds to trap spamming, and trap spamming is not something that should be inside of a slasher game. So I'm glad they took that out. You can't go ahead and trap spam anymore, and even if you did, Nightfall would ruin that. Okay, the list looks a little bit different. I think it looks a little bit different. What I did was I threw everything into the tiers and I went ahead and looked and saw like if this is actually what I wanted to do. But then I couldn't take the pictures out, so I had to reset all the rows to clear the row images. And now I think we're back to where we were before. But back to the Nightfall. Traps is something that I think a lot of people are going to start to use now, especially if they're going to be teaming. Because with the Ghoul's ability, what people have been trying to do, and it happened in the YouTuber lobby as well, is if there is a barricade that ever gets put up or a door of any sort, putting a trap in front of that area can actually go ahead and take off the time for the Ghoul using his ability, because he'll have to be stunned for that short period of time, and then he can go back to going through doors or barricades, whatever the Ghoul wants to do. And so therefore they can't do it as long as they wanted to, because they got stuck into that trap. And just traps are really good for people who want to go ahead and loop. Okay, traps are very good. So I think a lot of people are going to be using traps from now on. We're going to be throwing the Nightfall into an A tier, because it can completely remove that gear from being used at all, and just help out with other people using their gears as well, just for looping or rotating. Next, we have Ayla, the robotic woman that's obsessed with me. Another slasher inside of the Merch's surplus shop. And what does Ayla do? Well, I'm glad you asked. So when you use Ayla's ability, what happens is that it disables you from using a gear, like from being able to use a gear. So let's say if you did have the camera and you were to go ahead and actually stun the slasher, but Ayla went ahead and activated her ability, you couldn't go ahead and actually use that camera to stun her anymore. It's very hard to know when to go ahead and actually use this ability, unless someone is actually using a camera and you don't like being stunned, or if people are using a flare as well. I guess you can use her ability and kind of disable that from being used if you're coming up to a specific person. But then again, you'd have to go ahead and actually time to go ahead and use her gear. I think Ayla we're going to throw into the C tier, just because you got to know when to use the slasher, and other people are using a lot of other traps and stuff as well, and it's hard to know when to go ahead and actually use her ability. And since a lot of people don't want to go ahead and spend their tokens on her, she's not going to be used as frequent as some of these other slashers you can get from just buying the normal crates or the new crates. But Ayla disabling a gear, it's kind of like the Nightfall, like we're talking about before. Nightfall completely takes out the traps, but that is the traps a very good gear to use. Ayla can also go ahead and do the same thing, but you got to know when to do it, and it just goes ahead and takes out the camera as well, which I don't know why a lot of people are using the camera anymore. The road flare is actually way better than the camera now, for sure. The camera does go ahead and help blind the person as well, but it doesn't help out as much, because once that camera ability is actually done with, a lot of people can still follow the trail to where the survivor is going. It doesn't help out too much. If I'm ever playing as a slasher and someone uses their camera gear on me, I can still follow you, okay? I can still hear your footsteps. It's not going to go ahead and actually remove the situation of me not getting you. I'm still going to be able to kill you. So that's why Ayla is going to be a C tier. It does remove that gear, so it does help you kill the survivor faster, but you don't need to disable the gear to still be able to kill that person. And we're not talking about the Nightfall when I say that, because he does disable a gear as well. I'm talking about the Ayla, because I think the only reason I'd go ahead and use a slasher is to not have people use the road flare or the camera gear, but you can still go ahead and follow the trail if people are using that camera. So we're gonna throw Ayla into the C tier. Animatronic D tier. Disguise, no, I'm just kidding. Animatronic, the newest slasher in Survive the Night, because they're coming out with all this FNAF stuff, so that's the reason they made it its own slasher, of course. What this slasher does, it's basically like the CCTV. It's a security camera on the survivor side, but now it's for the slasher. This does not help you out at all, okay? It's going to be called a recon slasher, because that's what its ability is. That's all it is just using its recon to go ahead and see where people are. Even if I were a survivor as well using the CCTV, I would be throwing that gear as well into the D tier. I don't think the CCTV is just a good gear to use on the survivor side or now the slasher side. Some people like to use it for some reason, if it does help you find out where the slasher is, but I don't have to use the CCTV to find a visible approach to where the slasher is. It's pretty easy to tell where the slasher is without being able to actually see where they are. One thing that helps out people quite a bit in Survive the Night, actually 100% what helps out a lot in Survive the Night, is being able to hear. If you guys can hear good and being able to use that to your advantage, you don't need to have any sort of visible strength to be good at the game. Of course, being able to see does help in certain situations, especially when playing video games, but hearing helps out so much. And the animatronic does not deal with that at all. Okay, if you want to go ahead and place cameras around the map and then sit there and go on the cameras and see where people are, congrats. Then you can go to that location. But then when you go to that location, there's a very high chance they won't be in that location anymore. So animatronic, definitely going to be a D tier slasher. Disguise Nightfall. Oh boy, this is a very good slasher. Disguise Nightfall, definitely an S tier slasher. Again, another slasher you can't get unless the event comes in Survive the Night. But the Disguise Nightfall, basically what its ability is have you guys ever seen the movie called Tron with the bikes, the laser bikes, and you got like the laser following behind them on the trail or whatever, and you gotta have people like hit that laser and then they die or whatever. That Tron movie. That's basically what the Disguise Nightfall's ability is. But it's not referring to Tron completely because you can't kill people with your little light trail because people can't actually see that little light trail. When you use the Disguise Nightfall's ability, what happens is that whenever survivors are walking around the map from that point that you activate the ability, they will leave a trail, and that trail will not disappear at all. That trail will be activated the entire time this ability is going on. So basically, it's like a walking trail that you can go right to the survivor, and it does last for a very good period of time. So it does help out quite a bunch, especially in a mode like a Lights Out. Lights Out mode, this ability helps you out so much, and just following that trail and going right towards people. And not only one person gets activated, everyone gets activated right when you use that ability. So this is another recon based slasher, and it's a very good recon slasher. So he's definitely going to be an S tier. Next we have the Exterminator, and a lot of people like to use this. I could see why you'd throw into the S tier. So what does the Exterminator actually do? When you use the Exterminator's ability, what happens is that he pulls out a shotgun, and when he shoots someone, that does a one hit. So it's another quick killer slasher, and I like to throw quick kill slashers into the B tier just because there are other slashers that you can use their ability to go ahead and take out rotations, take out looping, or just very good recon based slashers. But if you are a quick kill slasher, I think that those rank lower than what I just said before. So quick kill slashers I like to put into the B tier. You can use any of these slashers to be good quick kill slashers. The Arachne is not really a quick kill slasher, but it is a slasher that you can go ahead and just take out that looping and rotating as well. But the Exterminator, another good quick kill slasher. Like I said before, a lot of people, if they are going to be a 2-hit survivor, the Exterminator can take them out right away, but then that's pretty much it. They have to wait for them to go ahead and actually reload to use the ability again, but it is a good quick kill slasher, so he'll be in the B tier. Now that I mentioned that as well, the Chainiac is a good quick kill slasher, so is the Parasite as well. But I feel like these ones are better. And a lot of people I know are going to be like, how is the Murderer better than the Chainiac? This is all opinion based. I've been trying to explain why I'm putting them into these specific areas, into the specific tiers. You guys can definitely swap out the Chainiac with the Murderer or the Parasite with the Murderer. These are all kind of quick kill slashers. I just think the Murderer is better to use than a Chainiac ability or a Parasite ability because the Rage does help out quite a bit. But we'll be throwing the Chainiac. I think the Chainiac is way better than the Parasite, so we'll throw the Parasite in the middle here. But the Chainiac will be at the top of the C tier because he could definitely move up into the B or swap out positions with any of these as well. But we'll just keep them there for now. Again, all opinion based. Next, we have the Alien, a very good slasher. This is another good slasher as well. One of the main slashers in Survive the Night. It's a very old slasher. The Alien, basically what they do is that when you activate their ability, they'll be placing a little burrow thing right where you activated that ability. And then let's say if you go to the other side of the map, you can actually look at where you place that burrow and you can teleport to that burrow from across the map or wherever you want to go ahead and actually teleport to. It does take a little while to go ahead and actually teleport and burrow, but it works out really well, and just getting to another side of the map, definitely going to be an A tier slasher. Could definitely be a S tier slasher as well, but we're going to throw them into the A tier because a lot of people don't exactly know how to use the Alien too well. But if you do place it in an area where people like to rotate or loop and just an area that's on the other side of the map to get to another player quicker, that helps out quite a bunch. But a lot of people, when you use the Alien right away, don't really know where to place those burrow locations. You got to play the game quite a bit to actually learn people's patterns and how they play maps to be useful with the slasher. But if you are very good with him, he's definitely a good slasher to use, so he'll be in the A tier. Next, we have the Anendra slasher, the last slasher in today's tier list. And basically, when you use the Anendra's ability, what happens is that he will lower survivor visibility. So basically, you can't see anymore. It will literally make your screen pitch black. You have to turn on a lamp to be able to see where you're going. But then what also happens is that he becomes immune to blinds and slows. So if someone were to go ahead and use a flare, and then you use the Anendra, you could just walk right through it. Or if someone was using a camera as well, you could just walk right through that as well. So way better than what we were talking about with Ayla before. I think Anendra is definitely going to be at the top of the B tier. We could definitely go ahead and flop a lot of people around in the B tier, just throw them in random places just because on how how they actually operate. Like the Murderer, for example, could definitely be in the top of the C tier, or switch with the Chainiac. You know what? We're actually going to go ahead and do that. We'll keep the Murderer into the C tier here. But the Anendra, I think, will be in the top of the B tier. Just because they can go ahead and get rid of that road flare that is actually really good to use now, because it slows you and it blinds you at the same time. And it just completely disintegrates the vision of people as well. We did talk about that you don't really need to see to be able to be good at the game, but the Anendra does like take that out, and then you can't actually focus on where you are walking around inside of the map. But the Anendra, combining that with the ability to go ahead and just walk through a road flare or walk through a camera, that works out really well. That's why he's going to be in the top of the B tier. So this is the whole slasher tier list, the updated slasher tier list with the 20 different slashers inside of Survive the Night. This is how I think all of them rank out. There could definitely be changes made to this tier list. Okay, this isn't an official tier list. This is just my opinion on how I think people who are new to the game, or people who are good with their abilities, how they could use that and kind of be better at the game and do a better job at using maybe other slashers as well to learn how they work and actually help you learn out the map and use their ability to help you learn out the map as well. Because I think the best thing to do inside Survive the Night is learn a specific map. Because I think the best thing to do in Survive the Night is to learn a map. If you learn a map and Survive the Night, or even all the maps as well, because they're pretty easy to understand if you just play the game. But if you learn how maps work and you learn how people's playstyles works with these maps, using specific slashers that we have in the S and the A tier could go ahead and help you just completely take that out into scenario and help you win as a slasher every time. So I think this will help you out quite a bit if you use these slashers in the S or the A tier, if you do get those slashers by any chance, and actually learn to play with those slashers and be very good with those slashers. It'll help you out a bunch. Okay, this is wise advice from JMT. If you guys have any changes that you'd like to let me know, please leave it in the description down below. I'll go ahead and take a look at those. I want to go ahead and see all of your guys' opinions on what you think could be placed into different tiers, or your guys' opinions on specific slashers as well, and whether or not to go ahead and throw them up a higher tier. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for me. My name's JMT, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.